If you've tuned into other episodes, you already know that I staunchly maintain that wine is the ultimate condiment for food. So naturally, it should only follow that I'd promote using wine to add flavor and dimension to your favorite recipes. So this episode is packed with info you should know if you're considering cooking with wine.
Hello, and welcome back. You're tuned in to Wine in 9, where all you need to learn about wine in 9 minutes or less. Here's your host, Bob Cappuccino.
Let's start with handling a few important issues to consider before you start cooking. Always, and I mean always, cook only with a wine you'd enjoy drinking. Perhaps it's the wine you'll serve with the meal. But if you're planning on serving an expensive, rare, or aged wine, you probably won't want to use that. The subtlety and nuances of a well-aged wine would be lost if you did anyway. So I'd suggest you use a wine that is similar to the dinner wine. For example, if you're presenting a top-quality Napa Cabernet, you should use a less expensive, younger California Cabernet that shares some of the other wine's characteristics of fruit and acidity with the main wine. But be careful of wine with heavy oak presence and high tannin. Cooking will intensify those tones. Now here's one that's really big, and it's important. Any flaws in a wine, in a cheap wine or an old and tired wine, will be magnified by the cooking process. So keeping a wine around for a long time that's just been sitting and figuring you can use it for cooking, probably not going to be a good idea. So, likewise, the ripeness and fruit of a good wine will add tasty complementary components to the dish. Now, avoid any wine labeled cooking wine. Now, you'll see those on grocery shelves, and they will be mean, nasty stuff with high salt content. That will do nothing to enhance the recipe, and I repeat, stay away. Now, it's generally held that the alcohol in a wine will evaporate when it's added to the pan. Nope. Urban legend. False news, folks. Actually, up to 85% of the alcohol will remain if the wine is added just before removing the pan from the stove. So if you're finishing the dish with the wine, you're going to continue to have a certain amount of alcohol still in the dish. But the longer you cook something, the less alcohol will remain. So since wine isn't high in alcohol to start with, prolonged cooking, as in a sauce or a stew or baked goods, they'll render the alcohol almost imperceptible. Now that just reinforces the fact that the acidity and the fruit notes are the most important ingredients in the wine. Foods with inherent saltiness match well with wines with firm acidity and with sweet dessert wines. Choosing the proper wine to add flavor to a dish is really fairly simple. Keeping in mind what I said so far about acidity, fruit, and oak tannins, whatever you are preparing needs to be balanced by the wine you use. Your choices must consider the entire recipe. In determining which wine to cook with or to serve, how you cook it will be more important than what you're cooking. If the main component of the dish is on the lighter side, like fish, roasted pork tenderloin, veal, most chicken dishes, look for a wine that offers a balance of high fruit notes with good acidity. A German Riesling that is dry or just slightly sweet, a dry Vouvray from the Loire Valley in France, a Chenin Blanc from California or South Africa, a Gruner Veltliner from Austria. A dish that is perhaps slightly bolder because of more spiciness, a rich sauce or extended time cooking, would call for a wine with a bit more oomph, say an unoaked Chardonnay, a crisp Sauvignon Blanc, a Gewürztraminer, a Pinot Grigio from Italy's Alto Adige or Friuli. Now, recipes that feature fowl, grilled pork, or veal chops, they can lean into bolder white wines like white Burgundies and not too oaky New World Chardonnays. Lighter to medium-bodied reds perform well in this situation as well. A nicely crafted Pinot Noir, a good Beaujolais, a spicy Valpolicella, or a light Zinfandel are almost always successful in recipes, and you can drink them while you're cooking. Now, too much oak in a white or red wine will not translate well for cooking, so please keep that in mind. Big, bolder foods. Roasted red meats, venison, boar, spicy stews usually require longer cooking and will engage well with wines based on Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, Nebbiolo, bigger chewy Zins, with Rioja and Chianti Classico Reservas. Port sherries, Madeiras, and Marsala are all fortified wines. They have higher alcohol and deep, rich flavors that can really punch up sauces and stews. By the way, I'm often asked about Marsala from Italy. So here's the rule. If you're baking, use the sweet one. If you're cooking, use the dry one. Now, a little note on vermouth. I'm not a fan for cooking with vermouth. I find that the infusions of so many diverse botanicals can create odd flavors, at least for me. However, in a martini or a Manhattan, or alone as an aperitif, count me in. Lastly, just a few caveats about certain foods that are somewhat unfriendly to wine. Artichokes will fight wine flavors and give them an off-sweet note and metallic aftertaste. There's an element called chinarin that is in the artichoke that makes anything after it taste a little sweeter. Asparagus can be very tricky. Steamed, it will give off an unpleasant characteristic, but grilled, lightly oiled with garlic and black pepper, it'll work well with crisp Sauvignon Blanc or a dry Riesling. Same is true with broccoli, cauliflower, and cabbage. Roast them or sauce them and they'll behave much better. Now be careful with really hot peppers. They really set off a wine's astringency and tannins. In this instance, go for a good beer. And lastly, vinegar. This is kind of an obvious one. You should avoid it because it will always give a more sour taste to the wine. So you really don't want to go in that direction. And one other thing. Try wine-based products like a good Cabernet jelly or a salsa or a salad dressing that is wine-based. There's even wine-based candies and barbecue sauces. The point? Wine will add flavors and enjoyment you shouldn't miss. My choice? Try making them on your own. There are recipes all over social media. I hope I've helped bust some myths and encourage you to make wine an essential ingredient for your kitchen. Cooking with wine is something worth trying and mastering. You'll be surprised what a difference you'll see, or you'll taste. Thanks for listening. This is Bob Cappuccino. Now I'm hungry, so let's go cook something.
Thanks for listening to Wine in 9. We hope we used your 9 minutes wisely. Look for Wine in 9 across social media. So grab a glass and join, subscribe, download, tweet, whichever you choose. Or you can go to our home base at winein9.com.